Okay, indie game development, tips, tricks, and more. In this introduction, and we will talk about, the video game industry, its relations with the video game community, and then tips for fledgling indie game developers. The benefits of indie games as a whole to both the consumer and creator of the games. So, with the introduction of indie game development and its success within the video game industry, many new developers see it as a chance to create a game and reach high levels of success. While I do believe achieving this goal is possible, it's not likely for those who are unexperienced and unprepared. So in this presentation, I will try and accommodate those new game developers and show them certain tips, certain tricks that they need to know to be prepared and be able to make such games that they are hoping to create. But first, we should talk about how indie games are seen in the industry today. So, as you can see, there's some pictures on the left that represent some indie games that have seen massive success. Undertale, which has sold millions of copies and has been introduced into Smash Brothers as a new character. Uh, so, you know, and Smash Brothers is a massively selling series. So indie games are now being widely accepted, and not only are they widely accepted, many, many consumers see indie games as a way to get genres of games that they have never seen before, or genres that AAA companies just don't really see profitable. So they have new anticipation, new life in the industry. So indie games, their presence in the industry has caused a massive positive influence for many consumers and many creators. Not only do consumers have a much bigger variety of games to choose from, but they have, more of a presence in crowdsourcing. So we'll talk about that later. Not only do the consumers benefit from the new games that are added, the creators also have freedom like they haven't had ever before. So, to first begin developing a game, it's very, very important to understand that developing a game costs money. Games are not cheap to make. They are include all types of art forms. As much as it costs to make art, well, that's included in the cost of making a game. As much as it takes to compose music, well, to make a game, you gotta have music in the game. So, what do indie game developers do to solve this issue? Well, as you see on the left, Kickstarter is a website that allows you to present your idea for a game and have other people pitch in as an investment to say that you will get this game done and it will be met with satisfaction from the consumers. So in this way, not only do consumers have a way to make sure game ideas they see as fun and innovative get made, but developers can now have a chance to not need to spend much of their own money and time to develop these games, but use the community as a way to create games that they, want to show to the world. While fundraising your games, please know that you will run into issues with money. It has been a guarantee. No money is will make or break your game to be if we're being completely honest. So make sure that you are prepared for this fact. There are many developers whose games have been dropped due to money concerns or they aren't financially stable enough to support themselves while creating this game. Some developers try and go the route of having a full-time job and creating this game and supporting themselves through supporting the game and themselves, their own living and their possibly their family through the full-time job, and usually this is getting into disaster. The issue with this is if you spend too much time on the game, too much money and time, there's a sunk cost fallacy that you might run yourself into, where I have to put so much time into this game and so much money that I need to get this done, but that will cause you to, potentially lose your job, potentially lose money, bankrupt, debt, lots of different ways. There's another option though for people out there who instead of having more freedom, you could have money by working with a publisher. With a publisher, they choose to fund your game to a certain extent, and they enjoy your idea. You have instead of presenting like Kickstarter, where you present to a crowd of the public, you could present to a publisher, and the publisher will help you with marketing costs, potentially hook you up with industry people that they know, artists, designers, other teams, and potentially help you out in creating your game. An issue with this, though, is that they might feel certain aspects of your game aren't something that they personally, their own company, will want to publish under their name. So you potentially have yourself set up to lose certain aspects and visions of your game. But it's a part of life that, and a part of reality that you need to get this game done, and that will cost money. How indie games benefit the industry and developer? Well, games with new ideas are introduced to the industry, so this will not only increase the variety of things the consumers can choose from, but potentially other creators will get inspired by certain games, and makes sure that not only is there a wide selection to choose from, but that innovation will continue to happen as the market grows bigger and indie games are easier to make through over time. And then with the freedom that a developer has from creating their own game, many developers will have more satisfaction and stay in the business longer, and overall just be a happier, bigger video game industry. And as I said earlier, consumers now can make sure that some games that they think have a good idea can be crowdsourced. So now no longer do they need to rely on companies that believe that games are only for profit, but now they can personally help a developer make their game, their vision, intact. So here we'll talk about some general tips that you should have while creating your game. Well, at the beginning, everyone has an idea for the game, right? An issue that many people usually have is overstating their scope, their ideas. So, as I would say, is a big piece of advice is decide on your vision early and at the start. Identify core values that you think are necessary for the identity of your game. Over time, some things will change. This is a fact and has been noted by many indie game developers, and even in the industry, you'll see that changes over time are a very common practice. So make sure that you have a core idea that you want to stick to and will make it satisfying to complete. That's how you keep your motivation throughout this trying process. Another thing, your game will need an artist. Unless you yourself are an artist and believe you can make the game and the art all on your own, or have maybe perhaps a minimalistic style, then it's very possible that you can make the game completely indie. Or, as many other studios have done, or indie game developers, they would hire an artist to create general, concept art, and then they will transfer that into a sprite, a landscape, stuff like that, and then reuse textures over and over. Be smart. Work smarter, not harder when it comes to art. But if a game like such, perhaps Undertale, which is very reliant on its art to convey certain messages and themes, maybe art is the biggest thing, and maybe you want to take your time on that. So maybe you should start on that first. And most importantly, make sure the game will not take your life to develop this. It is not worth financial risk to develop a game. You should be prepared, smart, before even starting this journey. Make sure you know what to do. We talked about fundraising. We know that the important things to keep in mind are the general tips that we discussed right now. So make sure that developing the game is something that you truly want to do, and it's not something you expect to make money out of. Many indie game developers do this as an art form or a hobby or something that they take great pride in. Make sure that you know your priorities before starting. So, in conclusion, although indie games are a fulfilling experience, they come with a cost. That cost is your time and your finances. Make sure you're aware and willing of this, and you will be able to persevere through the process of creating indie games. And at the end, you may find yourself with a huge hit success. And if not, if you stick true to you and the general tips we outlined in this presentation, you will have become satisfied with your creation, and you will know and now you will have something to show to the world, and you will have added to the video games industry in a positive, meaningful way. Thank you for listening to this presentation. If you have any questions, please go ahead and email me at andy13ksu.com. You know, the works. Thank you and goodbye.